from Talking Films Online, TFO for short. TFO was founded almost on a whim by Professor Nikhila and myself in June 2020 during the lockdown. It is a group of film scholars, researchers, students, teachers, and anyone passionate about cinema. We are happy that we have been able to sustain this forum thanks to people like you who log in every Saturday to participate in the discussions. It has been our practice to invite people to select and lead the discussion of the chosen film, which we watch in our own time and place. We have also held film festivals such as the East European, Iranian, Women's Cinema, and others. We have also held retrospectives of Kelly Reichardt and Adur Gopalakrishnan. In the month of June each year, to celebrate our anniversary, we hold a smartphone short film making contest for students and also organize a lecture series in collaboration with colleges and university departments. Today's discussion will be led by Dr. Ruta Dharmadhikari, Head and Associate Professor, Department of English, LAD and Srimati R.P. College for Women, Nagpur. Ruta's doctoral thesis was on film and literature. She is the coordinator of the Cinecon Film Club since 2009 and the founder editor of Jabberwocky, an online student magazine. She is actively involved in event organization, innovative solutions, and entrepreneurial skills as a senior administrator. Welcome, Ruta, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Geeta. Simply a great honor and a delightful pleasure to be here on this forum. Thank you so much for inviting me. Today I'm going to talk about the film GETT, the Trial of VIVIANE. Before I begin, I'd like to share a small bit of information that the first time I saw this film was when it was screened at our local film society, Cinemontage, here in Nagpur. And it is one of the oldest film societies in central India. And had it not been for Cinemontage, I would not have come across this film. And to watch a film along with other film society members in a darkened auditorium, other than a commercial theater, has its own charms and its advantages, as you all must be knowing. So this was a film which really scared me the first time I watched it. And I was very, very disturbed by the whole movie. By the time it ended, I was very upset. And so upset that I needed to take the film on my pen drive and watch it again at home at my leisure. And which I did, and it has stayed with me. So when Geeta said, would I like to discuss a particular film, I was sure that I would like to discuss this movie. What was it in this movie that has disturbed me so much, and I'm sure has disturbed every person who has watched this film? First of all, the title, The Trial of VIVIANEAMSALEM. She's on trial. A woman is on trial as if for having committed a crime of wanting to separate from her husband, from a marriage which is turned very toxic, and not just separate in terms of distance, but completely in terms of a divorce. Now, why would that title be given had it not been for the fact that in Israel, it is termed as a crime to want to divorce your husband? And this is exactly what happens to us in the movie. We start to understand the rigorous nature of a marriage in Israel, or the difficulty in which one lands oneself if one is a woman when you get married, and if you want to get out, how difficult that is. So the opening shot itself in the movie uh, is stark, it's somber, and it's a man talking about how a woman wants a divorce. This movie is made by a sibling duo, Ronit and Shlomi Elkabetz. It's the last of a trilogy. There are two more films in the same narrative which come before GETT. But this movie doesn't depend on the earlier two films for its meaning. The first one, which talked about the story of Viviane and Elisha Amsalem, is called To Take a Wife. And the second is Shiva. The first came out in 2008 and the second, I think, in 2011. And it is a story about this Jewish couple who are actually in a frustratingly dysfunctional marriage. They've lived through 4 children and 30 years of incompatibility. Now, these two siblings, Ronit and Shlomi, are the script and screenplay writers. They're the directors of the film. And they are very sure about what they want to communicate through the movie. They want to do a show and tell. And so every shot, every line delivered, every performance, every space used is on point. And it tells the story of a 45-year-old Israeli woman trying frustratingly to get a divorce from her husband. And it makes very unsettling points about what it means to be a married woman in the very highly orthodox and religiously conservative Jewish society of Israel. In Israel, the woman is at a disadvantage in a marriage. That is what Ronit and Shlomi have told us in an interview. There are no civil weddings. It is always a religious wedding. And in this, or rather, it's the society in which they live is highly religious. So there is no civil ceremony. It will always have to be a religious ceremony. And from what we see in the movie as well, the law favors the man very heavily to the point of absurdity. And that's brought out in the film. To what extent is this absurdity taken? That the law protects, even, not just favors, protects the husband from ever getting divorced, ever being out of a relationship. It may be written in their scriptures, it may be written in their Torah that you cannot, that marriage is for life. And Elisha Amsalem happens to be a religious, we can call him a fundamentalist, who will follow the religion to the letter. He will follow the law to the letter. And even we suspect, we can see that even if he knows that his marriage is crumbling, he will not give up on the right to not give the get. So Ronit and Shlomi take this huge misogynist rule in Israeli life and create a movie to expose how horribly a woman's human rights to life, love, and happiness are denied because of this one religious law. And Viviane, we see, is bent on freeing herself from the shackles of this law. Now, this is this one woman's fight against a system, against a structure, living in Israel. We come to know that they are from Morocco, but the rule of law applies to all Jews wherever they are in the world. And the dialogue tells us, rather the language used tells us that it's a mixture of Hebrew, Arabic, and French, because Moroccans speak French. So the conversation between husband and wife move between these 3 languages. Whenever there is a conversation, there isn't much in the initially. This system still exists in present-day Israel. And they, both the directors say that the minute a woman gets married, she's at the mercy of the husband's whim. So much so as if she has sold her rights to free herself from the marriage. And in that sense, unless the husband agrees, the law cannot get him to divorce his wife. And so the law gives this outrageous weapon to the husband even. Now, what do we see? We see that in the beginning, the first, as I said, the movie begins with a direct and brief opening statement by Carmel Ben-Tovin. He's a lawyer pleading the client Viviane's case. He tells the court that Elisha refuses to come to court, the husband, Viviane, his wife, wants a divorce. She's filed for a divorce in the court. The only rabbinical, the rabbinical court and the only authority in Israel that can grant a couple of divorce, provided that the court is satisfied that there are grounds for divorce. The lawyer pleads that since the 3 years that Viviane has filed for divorce, she has not lived at home. Her husband has not spoken to her in that duration. And Elisha, Viviane's husband, refuses to appear in court, refuses to acknowledge his wife's request for a divorce, refuses to grant her freedom to divorce him, refuses to give a reason why he will not grant her a divorce. And the film revolves around the wife, Viviane's attempt to free herself. So only 6 minutes into the film, we are blitzed with a frustrating situation. There is no escape. Now, if you look at the screen, it's like as if it's a proscenium stage. The cinematography is such that there are very few camera angles, very few camera movements. And the point of view which the director takes is always from that of the characters who are speaking. And if that character is not focused, is not in focus, that character is not shown. I'll just show you a few slides a little later on into my talk, but you will get that kind of sense of claustrophobia, sense of no route of escape from a particular situation, as is seen that there is no route for escape from that room in which this court proceedings is going on. Or maybe we can start. Nikhila, can we just have that first slide on screen?
Yeah, sure. Just one. Yeah, can you see?
Yeah. Yes. So this is the film poster. Now, very contrary to the later color palette, which is completely in two tones, at the most, maybe one or two shots may have some color, but throughout the film, it's a black and white almost that we see. The next slide, please. Next. This is Viviane. And if you notice, she is there in the center of the screen with half a torso behind her. That's the lawyer who is representing her. Next. 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 So these 4 slides will show you there is very little movement. There are long silences, or even not long, I must say, but there are silent ways of communication. If you take the slide back to the husband's, Nikhila. Yeah. There is, the directors exploit the ability of the actors' talent fully. The facial expressions of each actor, the limited movement is so expressive of every single emotion. Next, please. The next slide. The judges, the one with the judges. The panel of judges is shown to be at a height. This is actually a little later on in the film, this particular camera angle. But otherwise, the room is demarcated very clearly into 2. Next slide, please. The vulnerability of an exposed neck. It's as if she is bowing down with no escape, knowing that there is so much ahead of her. And why? Why? Because at every turn, the husband refuses to grant her a divorce. Next, please. So, as and when a question is asked and the answer is given, there is a rigid block of immovability almost, a huge obstacle in the path of our understanding. Whenever you have any dialogue, it goes over and above the heads of perhaps the main protagonists here, the husband and the wife. So much so that before it is Viviane who is actually the main character whose problem we are able to understand. But she is shown almost 4 minutes into the movie. For the first 4 minutes, it's as if people are talking over her head. For the first 6 to 8 minutes, nobody is bothered to see what she needs, what she wants. There's a complete invisibility. And this is also one of the parts of Israeli society, that no matter what you feel, no matter what you want, no matter what you do, a woman in a marriage is no longer a person with human rights, but an object to be owned, or to be a woman, to be a person whose only role in life is to be dutiful towards the institution of marriage. And this is what is brought out throughout the movie. So the judges want to protect this Jewish family system, and it is a rabbi's sacred duty to ensure that families stay unbroken, even if it means that they are dysfunctional. So the court cannot order a divorce. And the man you see on your screen is Tovim, the lawyer, who is defending Viviane. And rather, he is not defending, he's the plaintiff. He is making sure that the court hears her. Now, the question of silence, the question of being silenced, and the question of not being able to speak is so very, very provocatively brought out by the directors. The court refuses to listen to anything that Viviane wants to say. Why? Because the judges, under the rabbinical rule, are there to protect that system, and the system says no family can be broken up. So what it can do, it can only persuade the husband to grant the official document over to the wife. The GETT is a piece of paper on which the husband will write that he is now willing to divorce the wife. And for that one piece of paper, the husband, Elisha, makes Viviane run around in circles. He refuses to come to the court. Can we not have the slide for some time? Just minimize the slide. So the movie, or rather, the initial part of the movie establishes that the husband is completely unwilling to give her a divorce. And the rest of the movie spends a whole lot of time in getting him to come to court, in making him follow the rule of law, in finding out ways and means to protect the husband, even though he is openly defying the court's orders to appear before him. It's so much so that it is so farcical. The judges are try their level best to make sure that Elisha comes to court. And there are two incidents where ridiculous measures are taken in order to ensure that he comes to court. One, that his license will be revoked. The man doesn't own a license. One, his bank account will be blocked. The man has a joint account with his wife. And every time the body language by Viviane, she is so contemptuous of the law, yet she cannot show what she feels. She is scared to say what she wants to say because she knows that the minute she opens her mouth, she will be taken, she will be seen as an independent woman, a woman with a mind of her own, a woman who wants to break the system, a woman who needs to be controlled, a woman who has no esteem for the law, a woman who doesn't want to be in a system which is tried and tested. So when she repeatedly tells the court that she does not love her husband and they are incompatible, the judges say that there is no grounds in rabbinical Judaic law where incompatibility and lack of love are grounds for a divorce. So the court, very pharisically again, continues on its mission to gather evidence to prove that she is saying what she means, or it is the truth what she says. And in the process, while the court is trying to be so-called on the woman's side, all it does and all that the main judges do is to ensure that there are delays, there are debates, and there are ways and means, there are avenues out of that particular question of why the man does not want to divorce her and what are the grounds which are, the fact that she has the right to divorce. Those are the two questions which are never answered. What does happen is that other than what actually does happen is continuously the judges give in to the husband's delay tactics and creates new situations, really absurd, to get other witnesses, family members, citizens, to prove that they are a good couple or to disprove that they are a couple needing to stay within the marriage. Nowhere is Viviane's view taken. Now, why is it so necessary that she gets the divorce? She needs to get on with her life. Now, those of us who live secular lives or who live lives out in a democracy cannot understand, especially in today's times, we cannot understand how such laws do exist, and we can only imagine and actually see the kind of frustration, the sense of claustrophobia, the sense of no escape, which the gamut of emotions which Viviane goes through. And this story, this narrative, even though it may be linear, definitely is with across the screen you get the timeline 3 months later, 6 months later, 4 months later. Every time the courts decree that more time should be given, more ways of gathering evidence should be sought. So if a woman is separated, she is worse off than being in a ruthless marriage. So she has no rights. She cannot risk seeing other men. She cannot have children, for they will be from adulterous relationships. So this law turns a woman seeking a divorce, turns her life into a hellish prison. So on the basis of all this, the court asks various people to come in and vouch for what kind of people both Alicia and Viviane are. And Nikhila, can you please, we'll just go through the whole sequence of slides and then I'll get back. I'd like to just show the kinds of facial expressions each character may have. This is Viviane's lawyer. You remember these scenes, I'm sure. Next, please. This is Viviane's brother. He worsens her case rather than redeems it. You notice the 3 windows at the back. The color palette is gray, black, white, somber, as if there is no escape from the black and white. It's either black, it's white, it's hardly any gray to life. Next, please. Even the stance which Alicia has, I mean, he is stiff. He knows what he wants, even though he will agree in his mind that there is a chance that she will never love him again as much as he would like her to, he will never give in. Now, looking at the positioning of these two across the small table that there's a very small table for the defendant or the plaintiff. And the lawyer's gestures, movements, frustration, through all that, Alicia stands firmly obtuse to the point of being absolutely willing to torture, willing to make her suffer. Why? Because very egotistically, very misogynistically, very with patriarchal highlights, he will not give in. Just because she asks, she will not give in. Next, please. This is a scene from where she is waiting endlessly yet again for him. He never appears. Despite being in contempt of court, Alicia doesn't come on any date of the hearing until he's thrown into prison and brought back. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. So when they are discussing what kind of duties a wife should have, what kind of woman is Viviane, it is so farcical that people are called in from the society to try and make the judge understand what kind of relationship Viviane had with her husband. Now, that is not so ridiculous because it might be character witnesses, circumstantial evidence needs to be ruled out. But the people who come in and talk about the characters of Viviane and Alicia, nowhere is there any grounds for adultery, nowhere is there any physical abuse, there is no, he provides for her, she takes care of the children, they are a perfect Jewish family, yet there is no space to understand emotional torture. There's no space to understand emotional and verbal abuse. Alicia doesn't speak to his wife for days on end as punishment. So when his brother talks about, when his brother is told this, when her brother is told this, he looks at the lawyer and says, listen, between man and to man, you know how women are. We have to make them right for us. That's all. Here he's talking about his own wife. So he may not get on with his own wife. He knows how it is. You don't need to love your wife. You just have to be with her. Now that kind of acceptance of that is how marriage is. Without love, marriage can exist. This notion is stamped out through this movie. Next, please. Another character witness who wants to, who is brought in to show, who's brought in from Viviane's side. This is her sister-in-law. Now, this is the half that I was talking about. The half where the judges on this side, their point of view, they are arranged in one line. There is no relief. There are two tables there. There's one in the middle. And it's a very strange system. You have to turn around to talk. There is no third space, or the third angle is not. It's just one or the other. Next, please. Now, a very stark contrast to the black, gray, white, and blue. Suddenly, there is a splash of color. And when does this happen? When Viviane is so fed up, and yet another time when Alicia has said no to her being given a divorce. She has turned up in red, and even as the judges are talking over her head again, she lets her hair down. Now this, according to Judaic custom, a woman's voice and a woman's hair are supposed to be controlled, are supposed to be enticements, sexual enticements to men. And in this court room where Viviane suddenly lets down her hair, it's an act of impudence actually. And suddenly we see this woman so fed up with being tortured, with being made to wait The trial goes on for 5 years. For 5 years, after 3 years of separation, she is made to run around in circles. The judges get so disgusted with the couple. Red splash suddenly in the middle of the movie. 1 hour, 10 minutes into the movie. And from her facial expressions, we see she is so tired, so exhausted, completely weary of the whole process. And yet her husband says no. Next, please. So the judges throw out all the witnesses and they say, we want to talk to these two alone. And the kind of venom with which the two attack each other is very evident in any bitterly fraught marriage, rather. You will have this kind of violence and scene. Next, please. And next, please. So this is at the end of her tether, a woman at the end of her tether, a woman who at this point of time, the audience does not know what is going to happen. What will happen to Viviane? How much more can she take? How much more can the audience take? How much more can we be in that room? We are continuously in that room, that tiny closeted space, tiny prison-like space where nothing is, there is no color reflective of, there's no color in her life. How much more can we take of this? Next, please. And finally, he does give it. She's there at the desk, at the judge's bench, supplicating, her hands on the table in supplication. Now, those very hands are supposed to be held up like this, like the kind of gesture that I'm making, begging for a get. When finally Alicia decides to give her the divorce, when he realizes that there is no way out, she is hopeful, she begs for mercy and she feels that they are merciful. And she is told that you have to ask your husband with palms upturned, as if in a gesture of begging. So you have to beg for freedom from that person. And then you have to repeat a few things after. And the husband has to allow the woman to be with any other man. Henceforth, she's free to be with another man. And that is when Alicia again says no. Till that time, he's been willing to go ahead with the divorce, willing to put that piece of paper in her hands. And then after which she has to go out of that particular door. There are 2 doors to the room. Next, please. And again, he says no. And she holds on, again, those same hands on the table. Again, she holds on to that little space as if this room is where she has to make her mark. This room is where her life depends on being in this room to get what she wants. She returns. Every time she's returned to this room, even though her husband has not, even though she's been reprimanded for coming when she knew her husband would not come. And these 2 court keepers, the one with the skull caps on either side. Next, please. They are there to escort her out. And she goes berserk. She completely loses that self-control. She loses the whole, all the emotions that she's been tamping down. She just loses control and she accuses the 3 judges. For God's sake, have you no fear, she says, of what you're doing to a woman? What are you doing to a woman? Have you no understanding of the plight of womanhood? And so she curses them. She curses the judges. She commits contempt of court time and again. She has she doesn't bother about what kind of repercussions can take place. Next, please. And literally, if you watch the movie, she runs around like a trapped animal in this room. She runs in circles, indicative of the circles that she's been made to run throughout her life. She's been made to run in circles throughout the life. We as the audience have been made to be following a circuitous route of absurdity. The two men at the back, the two representatives, the two lawyers, one a rabbi and one a cleric, a non-religious lawyer, without his skull cap. Their faces are frozen. Their faces are without any expression. It's only Viviane who has beautifully, absolutely marvelously conveyed all her emotions throughout the movie with her face. And it's only now that she moves so much. She goes around in circles over the room trying to find a way to stay in and to convince Alicia to give her that get. Next, please. I think that's the last slide.
I think that's the last slide.
Yeah, if that's the last slide, that is where that being caged, being imprisoned with the barrier around her, with having no escape. Beyond that, we feel, what more? What else? But Alicia does give her the divorce. She does walk out. She walks out of the room the way the judges have asked her to. She gets that piece of paper, but only on that condition that she does not marry another man, that she does not maintain any relationship with any other man. So it's a no-brainer that you have to. But he's full of ego. He's full of. But his vulnerable side, even though he must have had, comes through once when he is asked, has your wife committed adultery? And at that time, the flicker in his eyes, even though he says no, that is the time I have felt that he must have felt that he has lost her forever, because maybe he knows something that we don't. Maybe he knows that his wife can no longer ever love him. What makes Alicia refuse to give Viviane her divorce? And what makes him, at the end of 5 torturous years, give that divorce? The whole journey of 2 hours is absolutely fraught. It is too difficult to even breathe through this kind of torture, let alone repeat it year after year in actual reality. And I have been reading that for all its progress that Israel has made, the condition of women is still exactly as the way as these filmmakers have depicted in this movie. So at one point of time, the judge says that everyone here is on trial. Everyone's secrets are laid bare. Everyone has to account for their actions, has to understand what is happening. What makes the movie so great? It's the acting, it's the direction, it's the use of silence, it's the ability to make a woman invisible just by the rule of law. It's the ability to say, you please be quiet, we do not want to listen to you. It's the ability of a system to completely ignore a woman, to make her so invisible that it leaves you with terror in your heart, to understand that this can happen. And the movie and the situation in which women find themselves today, be it India, be it Israel, be it anywhere, the circumstances may be different, but the essence remains the same. That there is much to be done, there is much to be understood. The film's greatness lies also in the way it uses silence, in the way it uses points of view where only the characters who are speaking will be, the shots will be from there over their shoulder, as if when nothing is said, a lot is said. And even when there is so much of, at 2-3 points, there's a lot of melodrama, shouting, humor, obtuseness. We get insights into how Elisha is holds a grudges for a long time, and he treats silence as a punishment to his wife, not eating the food that she has made, not allowing her a daily comfort. At one point of time, she says, "You never hug me." At one point of time, there is no appreciation. There is not one word of kindness. There's not one word of love. Yet, despite that, despite the fact that there is nothing going between them, he refuses to give her a divorce. Why? Because the religion does not allow him to divorce. And a woman who hates him from the marrow of her bones, why would he want to continue? It may be his punishment. So the beauty of this film is that we understand every single minute of what is going on. There is no incomprehension. And that's where the success of the film lies, I think. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruta. And that was a really deep analysis of the filmic narrative. It is now open for discussion. To begin with, what really struck me about the film was that although it is a mere, the entire film is shot in a court and in a courtroom. And in spite of that, it is so engaging. It's in a single space, and yet it is so engaging. So that is something that really struck me about the film, apart from, of course, all the issues that you have raised about, patriarchy and religious conservatism and all of that. There's no need for me to reiterate that. You have done it with great eloquence. I now open it out for discussion. Anyone with any comments, questions?
Geeta, if I can come in.
Yes, Nikhila, please come in.
Yeah, thank you, Ruta, for suggesting the film. It's not a film I had heard before. Thanks so much for introducing us to this wonderful film and initiating discussion on it. As you said, and as Geeta also said, it's very engaging. It's almost as if we are willing, as we watch the film, we are willing for the end that Vivian wants and so desires as the film goes on. Whether it's Israel or India, one of the things that the film kind of brings home so strongly is that this is not just about a trial for divorce. It is a trial for the character of the people themselves. And one would think, why should it be? But that's the whole point. Everyone seems to think that the husband is such a fine man, so why would this, why would Vivian not want to live with him? So this whole incomprehensibility of what incompatibility means, or what is expected, what is a woman's expectation from a marriage. I don't even think that it is articulated, in the film. What does she want is not something that is articulated. And yet, in scene after scene, we can feel her suffocation, her desire to just want it all to end. So if one were to ask her, so what is it that you want? And I don't think it is articulated in the film, and I thought that was done wonderfully well.
Wonderfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I thought that came through very well. Also, this kind of this brotherhood among men. So this sorority and brotherhood, by which strange men come to work together. I mean, men who are strangers, they come to work together to ensure that they don't hurt each other's interests. So again, that comes through very strongly. And in scene after scene, point after point, they're just looking for scapegoats. They're just looking for someone on whom. So the way the entire trial turns against Carmel, the lawyer. I mean, so at any point, it can turn against anyone. So when the neighbors come in, so
that is what reminded me of Kafka. It's very Kafkaesque. At any time, anything can happen, and suddenly at 3 places, very pertinent questions are asked. Why do you not want to divorce her? Do you love this woman? When he asked, the lawyer is asked. There are no answers. They just do not answer. Even the Tovim doesn't answer whether suddenly he said, you are in love with Viviane. And so the judge asked, do you really love her? He just packs up his bag and leaves. He doesn't want to answer. So it's like a conspiracy against womanhood. Nowhere is she allowed to be anything other than what they have told her to be. And yet she's been a hairdresser for 20 years. Yet she's been looking after the children. Yet she's been a model wife. Other than that, so incompatibility is incomprehensible to the men.
Yeah. So I had a couple of questions though. Towards the end of the film, one of the issues that comes up in the beginning is why Carmel, the lawyer, does not wear his skull cap. And then in the last scene, we suddenly see him appear with a skull cap. So I was just wondering, I mean, why, does it have to happen? It was,
in fact, after being told also next time you come to wear a skull cap, he doesn't.
He doesn't, yeah.
I was watching, I mean, when does he finally do it? So at the end, what
right
is the significance of the end and why now?
Yeah.
That
also is one. And also, I mean, I thought it is open-ended, whether, she's ultimately given the divorce. I mean, it's, I think the point is not about whether she gets the divorce, but what happens in the process. So does it ultimately result in her divorce? It's not really, shown to her. There is no triumphal moment when she holds up the paper and says, I got it. So I thought that was...
No, so that's the we as conventional audiences are waiting for that aha moment. Ki, Arey, chalo, the smile on her face, and we can celebrate. Whereas, look at the perfection of the direction. If you see when the judge Rabbi Solomon, when he folds that paper and tells, okay, this is the way you have to do it. You have to hold the hands like this. Then your husband will give you this, and then you will walk out that door. Okay, many of us will miss that instruction. And then Elisha says, no, I'm not going to give. And so therefore that panic move around the room like a caged animal, like an absolutely cornered and caged animal. She has no place to go and she rants and raves. But when he finally does call her again, says that you cannot be with any other man. And so she smiles. So, and we don't know whether she's going to be getting that get or not. Yet what is the last scene? She's shown walking. She's shown turning her feet to where the door is and then walking up.
Yeah.
Which for me, it meant that, okay, from like this to like that, the direction of the feet have changed. So she has followed those instructions which Rabbi Solomon gave. And so she's received that get.
Yeah.
That is my interpretation.
Yeah. So as you said, her hands, the focus on her hands, but also at 2-3 different points, the focus on her legs.
Next.
So she crossing her legs, and at the end, the last scene, as you said, walking out. I thought all that was also very interesting. So it's not just about her face conveying
Full body
emotion.
language.
Yeah, it's
Full
what the
body.
camera kind of captures, and through that indicates something. I'm not entirely sure I get what it is indicative each time. I think, for instance, when the brother speaking, it's interspersed by shots of her legs. So is it meant to convey nervousness, or is it a certain kind of modernity?
I also feel, and I might want to check it out. Maybe it has some reference to the earlier two films. Some directors pick up certain points from earlier films as markers. So if we see earlier films, maybe there's a symbolism there. I mean, we don't know. Otherwise, that was very incongruous when I first saw that particular scene. When the first time that she's wearing that red dress, or even when she's wearing a black skirt with red shoes and red toenail polish, that was very incongruous to the whole demeanor that has been projected. So suddenly, where is this flash of color and why? That's also interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of state?
Also I was thinking, so if it was to happen in the Indian context, it would be set out as a big tradition modernity kind of debate. I think this film eschews that kind of a choice. It's not, saying this modern woman. I mean, I think there's such a nuanced approach. It's not ready to damn her as a modern woman. I think there's such a nuanced approach, and a refusal to frame it in, within given binaries. So again, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and it's
Thank you.
very true. It's a refusal. Actually, as I said, black and white is the only two that they know. So the color palette also gives you, and that is what I think that is what they are trying to show, that society, the characters who are brought in as witnesses, they are selected on the basis of whom they represent also. So they're not willing to let go of the fact that the woman will not have a choice or in the matter. They are unwilling to give her the choice. They are willing to want her to succumb to whatever torture, whatever suffering, or whatever games that society will play. I think that's it.
Yeah. I also thought at the heart of the narrative lies the question of truth, like what is the truth? Who is speaking the truth? And even if you look at the way the shots are framed, the perspectives of the different characters, and it's all framed in a very subjective manner. So that also kind of contributes to this idea of truth as not absolute, but something that is, personal and subjective. So that is also something that struck me as I was watching the film, and also humor. Although it is such a such a serious film, the issues being discussed are so serious, but there is also a humorous way of treating this narrative. The sudden laugh that Viviane lets out, and almost contemptuous, and almost as if she's saying, I know it all, So so I thought that was also something that was very interesting about the way the whole film was made.
Yeah, because it's like not just human, it's farcical, the way the people behave. I mean, they're being true, they're being true to themselves, and that has been beautifully captured. That it's very laughable, and this is what happens in real life also. You go around trying to be who you are, you end up being a comic. Yeah, and that's that is out of place in that somber situation.
And also some of the witnesses, especially the couple,
The
so
couple,
yeah,
and the judge's reaction to them also.
them
People,
also, exactly.
and the fact, what also struck me, that they are unwilling to, or rather the judges, the rabbinical court is willing to let the people transgress their orders. He's told to go out. He says, no, I'll be staying.
Yes.
Acha, he says, you have to tell me why you don't want to give a divorce. He will not say. He'll just say, jamais, Viviane, never I'll give you. He just turns to his wife, completely ignoring the court.
Good.
And, yeah, and the man who has seen them in a cafe together, she's been with another strange man. So the fact that he can have made a mistake is treated very lightly by the court. Acha, theek hai, acha, nahi, wo nahi thi kya, acha, koi baat nahi, wo nahi hai. It was that, it's that laughable to have that kind of levity in a situation which is so somber.
Yes. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I mean, even if not questions, I mean, how did you like the movie? What did you feel after watching that movie? Anyone?
Tarkeshwar, would you like to say something? Madhurima, Sanjay. Yes, Sanjay, please go ahead.
So, in the end, finally, when the husband agrees that he will give a divorce, then and the judge asks him to repeat those sentences. The first sentence is okay with him. He can say that, okay, I'm divorcing you. And then there's another sentence which says that you will have nothing to do with other men after this. And this is the sentence he doesn't want to repeat. He doesn't want to say. So it's obvious that, even after this relationship is over, he doesn't accept this fact that she should go with anybody else other than him. So there is a feeling of like, to possess her rather than, though he says that he loves her. There are a couple of sentences saying that he loves her, and also when they are alone also. There is a confusion like between loving an inanimate object and loving a human being, a living being. Because when you love an inanimate object, there is no will of that inanimate object, and you can place it wherever. I can love a table, I can love a book, but loving a human being is different. Whether that person reciprocates or not, that is very important. But here we see that for the husband, it's important that he loves her. After that, she loves him or not, it doesn't matter. Okay. So there is like, I was reminded of this sentence structure which we use in English and French both. Like, I love you, when we say that you is a direct object, that Louis Sirigari talks about it. J'aime à toi. That's her book, which is translated into English as I love to you. That is, yeah. So that's the English translation. It says
not je t'aime.
Not je t'aime. It is j'aime à toi. So I love to you. So that she is arguing that it should be like an indirect object, not a direct object. So this is the confusion in the mind of the husband. For him, it is like loving someone is like possessing as an object. And that person reciprocates or not, it doesn't matter, because he can love a human being just as he loves any object in his family.
That is what the cultural heritage of that society is. No? Once you're married, you're locked into it. In fact, in an interview, the directors have said that if you're in a marriage, means you're done for. So you're like a property, you're like you have said, an inanimate object, you're a possession. In more democratic societies, we will, shrink in horror at being called objects of desire or objects of possession. So, in fact, throughout, as Nicola also pointed, and I was about to say it also, but I think wo point reh gaya, that throughout the men have the gang of brothers or gang of guys against the gang of girls, and both of them will have their own viewpoint. And it is so obtuse. I mean, all the men are so obtuse that they've not seen the verb seen, that she's invisible. I've said that she's completely invisible. All women are invisible. And her own brother tells the lawyer that I don't love my wife, but I'm not going to separate from her. I'm going to keep her in check. So I feel that he doesn't want to give her the divorce. A very masculine, egotistical attitude that how dare she do anything which will put me to shame in society? How dare she be independent? How dare she have a mind of her own? How dare, that's a very feminist way of looking at where she comes from or where he comes from. It's also toxic, toxic masculinity at play here, where to refuse any kind of appreciation, to refuse any kind of physical or emotional closeness as punishment for having disobeyed. All these things are are his beliefs, and they are his religious beliefs, not any kind of secular or democratic belief. And so he feels he's well within his rights to refuse her a divorce, because I love you and you are my wife. How can you even think any otherwise? You come home and I'll see that we will start again. Every time he says, you come home.
Yeah, that's right. And also, I like that point which Geeta raised about that everything is presented through narratives. So what has happened earlier, like off screen, we have no idea actually how they behave at home, how the husband behaves or how the wife behaves. And we have no idea. We can just imagine and assume on the basis of their statements. So they can present things from their perspective. And as you rightly said, that some of the witnesses were men, even the brother who is supposed to support her, he's also aligning himself with the male figure.
Yeah. So that those hand gestures also, he says, thanks a lot. She very contemptuously, sarcastically says. And Elisha says, see what a fool your own brother is. That kind of movement was very, very important. I mean, even the men don't understand what they're doing. Whereas these two are an intelligent couple. Elisha and Viviane are intelligent. And yet they're not able to, and this whole thing, whether compatibility matters in a marriage, that is what society doesn't get in Israel, is what being shown here. That you cannot, she said at one point, in America, had this happened, you would have been thrown in jail. America, this would not have happened. So there's a comparison to the Western world and this Middle Eastern or West Bank world. It's there are many layers to this movie's statements that it makes. It's not as direct as it seems at the first go. So you have to watch it 2-3 times to get the whole flavor of the movie and to understand exactly that there is no escape unless the husband gives it. So will this change? Is the movie made in order to make sure that there is some sort of change? I've read somewhere it's a human rights issue also. The rights of the woman are not taken into consideration. The right to love, the right to have her own person to love. And she bends over backwards in trying to do whatever is told to her and whatever is asked of her. Where is the reciprocation? There's no reciprocal, there's nothing in reciprocation.
Right. I was reading somewhere that there is a word in Hebrew called aguna, which means, a chained or anchored woman. And specifically it's used to describe a woman who petitions for a get and does not get it.
Yeah.
So they are known as agunas. which is a chained woman. And that kind of ties in with the idea that you raised about, the woman as property, somebody you hold, somebody you possess, somebody you do not release if you do not wish to. So the woman as property is a kind of a major trope in the narrative. Any other comments? Yes, Tarkeshwar, please go ahead.
Yeah. If nobody else, then I would.
No, please.
It is just to say that, as Nikhila was saying, it is not just the trial of the husband, but it is the trial of everyone uh, that is happening over there. And but I wouldn't say that it is not about tradition and modernity. In fact, it plays out in that sense in the narrative. There is a contestation that is happening within the society. Everyone, it's true that the husband has a religious right not to grant divorce to the woman. But the very fact that the woman is demanding, and there is a lawyer who is arguing for her, that too vociferously, and also the judges are perplexed that why this fellow is not giving when she doesn't want to leave it. So there is a understanding that if there is no compatibility, there should be a divorce. But ultimately, it is the husband who has to give it because that is the religious right of the husband. So the conflict between these two values is being played out. And interestingly, the witnesses who come there, they are also unable to take the side. When they are moving on the other side, somebody asks a question, they can oscillate to the another end. That's why they turn hostile sometimes to the cause for which they have come there. So in that sense, it is very interesting. The societies struggle to keep the religious book and its dictate along with the new notions of individuality, marriage, family, compatibility, all these things coming in. So it is not, when I heard about this movie long back, I think it was in the case of, again, the problems of divorce in Jewish culture. So it became a kind of example about the problem in Jewish culture. But the movie says it is not only a problem, but it is, in other cases, there are divorces that are granted. Only here, this fellow is adamant. So this particular incident shows the conflict between our desire to hold on to a certain book in the name of culture, tradition, religion, whatever it is, and the way the society is modifying itself. So the conflict between the two comes out in the fore. This could be applied even to Indian context, not just Jewish context. So I don't think this film should be used as a kind of a stick to beat the Jewish culture in terms of gender. I'm not telling that you said it, but that's how I came across. It came across to me when somebody earlier mentioned this film to me a few years back. But I had not watched the movie. Thanks to you that we could watch it now. So this conflict again is being played out even in the India, even today. Now Uniform Civil Code versus certain rights granted to the community. So this conflict is being unfolded in a different way in the Indian context. Now I would say, thank you.
Yeah, we are in a state of transition. That transitional state itself is very, very painful, and the transition which is required, how that process is tackled by societies, that's also very well it's very well put.
No, I wouldn't say it is just a transition, because then we would be saying it is a linear progression.
No.
It could be even going back. I don't know what will happen and when. So we are oscillating between the two. And
Oscillating.
whether we'll find a median point or whether it's just a transition period and we leave these things completely and move on, I don't know. I'm not so optimistic looking at the present condition everywhere. Thank you.
Everywhere, and that's it. It's a global condition. People are all grasping for answers, groping their way through. There's a question here. How would you interpret her looking through the window and
Yes.
reflecting on something and the idea of freedom, though she is restricted in terms of having a relationship? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a question from Yagnashri.
Yeah. So looking out the window has always been a directorial device, I feel, to, as Nicola said, to leave things open-ended or to contemplate and to, what's the second part of the question? The idea of freedom, though she is restricted in terms of having a relationship. So I feel at that point of time, she is already 45 years of age and she's already has a business and has a profession. I feel initially her looking out the window is her way of coming to terms with what her whole journey has been and what she has just received and what she, and I think that looking out the window is before she's given the divorce, isn't it? Because after she's given the divorce, she just walks out. It's something that we can sympathize, empathize with, even though she has no freedom to have another relationship. She is free from her being chained to that particular marriage. No? She's free to live her life without a man in her life, but she's able to live her life with her children, with her profession, with her friends. So maybe she's contemplating on that kind of a life without a man, whether she would even want to have another man. We don't know the earlier two films. It's open-ended. It's full of possibilities. It's full of a sadness as well. A sadness where the window is not clear. We cannot see clearly through the window. There is some film on that window where everything is not very clear. So even for her, in her mind also, it's not very clear what she's going to be doing. Yet she can see outside. She can think of looking outward and not be in that claustrophobic space anymore. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ruta.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Yes, Madhurima, please go ahead.
I just had one or two things to say. Most of it has been discussed already. So when I watched the film, I just watched the film today only. So it reminded me of another film we discussed earlier. It's a very different film. It is the film Gabriel that was suggested by Geeta ma'am. So it is very interesting to note how the male psychology works, even though that film is set in the French context. So even in that film, when the marriage is not working out, the husband does not even care. He only starts to care when he gets to know, or when the wife informs him that she is in a relationship. Whether that is true or not, we don't know. But that is when he starts to care about their marriage. Before that, he was very happy with it. Even in this film also, whenever there is a suggestion of adultery that is coming in, the husband is almost repetitively suggesting that no, she is not committing any adultery. So it is like the male psychology is working in a way that she cannot do this while being inside the marriage. And the other thing is here, the husband's definition of love, it is very different. It is like it is a given. Simply because he is married to her, it means that he loves her. It is like it is something he is supposed to do. There is no other way. Even though his action says something otherwise. And if we see the marriage of the neighbors who come to testify, and that is supposed to be a marriage that is working, they are very happy with each other. But if we see how they are, I mean, even if in these two couples, there is no direct communication between each other. Because whenever the judge is asking a question to the wife, the husband is answering. It is like she cannot answer on her own. And the husband says that I have to be here when the wife speaks. I cannot be out of the court. These are the two things. And the other thing was when, there were 3-4 court sessions when the husband does not come. So it is like a hopeless situation. The wife has to depend on the husband to come. Otherwise, there is no way out. It is a very claustrophobic situation that is portrayed there. And
Yeah.
the last question that I had is that what Ruta ma'am discussed just now. So can divorce be conditional? Like, I am granting you divorce on the basis of the fact that you cannot have a relation with someone else later. Because if that feels like he still has some right over her personal life.
Yeah.
That is
So
what I
this was the question. Yeah, may I answer? So
Yeah, please go.
that struck me also, Madhurima, that it made me chuckle a little bit. That who's to say what would happen after once she gets, she'll say, yes, I will not marry anyone. I will not be in any other relationship, just in order to get over with the fact that I need that piece of paper. Once the piece of paper is received, how is Elisha going to be in any way controlling her actions, controlling her movement? Of course, it is not possible. Of course, it is wrong. Of course, it is not written anywhere in their rule book that, in fact, the rule says that Elisha does not mind her having another relationship. This conditionality which Elisha puts for Viviane is only to continue to tell her, one, that she still loves her, two, that you need to come back if you feel like, three, that I do not want to let go of you, yet I am letting go of you, provided that you don't be with anybody else. And that kind of smile which she gives him before the movie ends. What kind of smile is that? It is one of resignation, one of wanting to please, still wanting to please, yet not being able to curb that happiness and enjoyment on her face, that finally she is getting the divorce. I will say yes to anything you want me to. Give me my give me my divorce. So we do not know whether she will stick to her word with him. We don't know.
But from the husband's point of view, it is almost like he's pitying her. Like he has all the right. Yeah.
Pitying her, okay.
It is like I have all the right to say no, but still I am giving you this
Giving
on the
you,
basis
yeah.
of a certain condition.
See how great I am, yeah.
So it feels like once you are in the marriage, you can never be really out.
You can, yeah. Yeah.
And thank you for suggesting the film.
Yeah, thank you for watching it. I really like this movie.
Any more comments coming in?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of that that the poet is not so much whether she will adhere to his words, or I think it is meant to give us a glimpse of what kind of a man he is. So it's immaterial, but the very fact that he's, I mean, so it also gives us a way to review why he has been, refusing the divorce. So is this the reason? So that he owns her solely, that he owns her body solely and cannot bear to have another man, her in relation. Yeah, or her in relation. Yeah, so it kind of gives us, I thought, a sense of why he's so stubborn, obtuse, and also, I mean, and therefore so repulsive. So
Sometimes I mean, if you observe closely each and every expression, both the actors have done such a marvelous job, all the actors. I felt that we are being told that this man has always loved Vivian. I mean, it's in an old marriage. Yet, because of their miscommunication and because of their communication issues, they haven't been able to express their love for each other right at the initial stage. And then when things worsen, then there comes to be a point of no return where even if you tell ki I love you, or even if you feel that you love that woman, if you cannot express that love either through words or in actions even, or anything, then that love is meaningless. And that's what Vivian feels. If you love me, you should have shown me, given me a hug, or held me close, find out how my day was. Not a single word of appreciation that she has looked after his mother so well in spite of not really liking it. He's done his duty to his mother because it is the duty of a son to do so. All these things make him out to be a very a follower of the religious laws and less of a human being rather and more of a person who wants to do a perfectionist of sorts, who wants to do the best. And therefore, everywhere he goes, he's also commended as an ideal man. I would give my daughter in marriage to him, vagara, vagara. So, when did Alicia start becoming so repulsive to Vivian? That point came very early on in their marriage. And it's not a surprise that he won't let her go. Such men are unaware of their own toxicity, I feel. But it exists. They wouldn't even know that it's like that.
Also, like in the film, the word love is used very loosely. I don't know what Alicia means by love. He always suggests that he loves her, but there is no show of love. And what does she mean by love?
Exactly.
There is no communication between the two.
Very
And when the judge asks probably Vivian that why did you marry him? Of course, it was not out of love. She says that it is the way of life. So love was supposed to happen. And Alicia probably thinks that it is also another duty that he is performing.
Absolutely correct. Very correct.
And that is why if Vivian loves someone else, even after the divorce, it is like an insult to Alicia.
Absolutely. It's like our own Indian marriages, arranged marriages. We don't, we love the husband or the spouse after being together, after spending time with each other. One comes to love the marriage. Maybe it's like that. They don't know the meaning of love, but these two at least.
At least Vivian is trying to find out. But from Alicia's part, I don't see anything.
No, he is quite stiff and rigid. Just focused on saying no all the time.
It is like I'm providing you with everything. What else do you want?
What else do you want? Absolutely right. There's no space for emotional compatibility, emotional, or even any kind of physicality as well.
It's not only Alicia, most of the men, the judges, his lawyer, the other men, except Vivian's lawyer, most of the men are thinking in the same way.
True.
Not being in love is not a ground for granting divorce.
Yeah. All the other factors are more important other than love for a family to be together, for a marriage to survive. Yeah.
And that is why when some unmarried woman, she came to testify on behalf of Vivian, she was insulted on the ground that you don't have a Jewish home. How can you say this?
Correct. Really. That's a very important point. Correct.
Any more comments, questions? Okay, if there are no more comments, we will end this session here. Thank you so much, Ruta. It has been a great discussion.
Thank you.
And thank you all for logging in and participating in this meeting. Good night and have a nice Sunday.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
everyone. Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Thank you, Geeta, for this opportunity. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ruta. Do join us every week.
I will. Thank you so much, Nikhila.
Okay, bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.